What's happening? Thanks for joining me on this Friday. Yes, the best day of the work week, and the draft is now officially less than 1 week away. Thursday night. It's going to be here soon, and we'll have content next week. We have a special guest scheduled for Wednesday, so keep your eye out for that. The Thursday pre-draft show, we'll get that going as well, and then we'll have live reaction to the number 4 pick right here, live stream YouTube on Thursday night. I can't wait. There's been nonstop talk over the last month. Nonstop talk. I think I've looked at every possible scenario over the past couple of months. It feels like we've gone down every single solitary road that you can go down. And I was thinking about this over the past couple of days. Can the Patriots actually afford to pick a defensive player at number 4? We've talked about Mason Graham. We've talked about Jalen Walker. We have certainly talked about Abdul Carter. Can the Patriots actually afford to go defense with the 4th pick? Throw your comment in. I want your answers. I want to know what you think. Do you think it's too risky for the Patriots to go defense at number 4? Because the general rule is you're in the top 4, pick the best player available. You can't afford to whiff. And if Abdul Carter is sitting there at number 4, how can you turn him down? With all of his talent, blue chip type player at a premium position like defensive end, how could you turn down the opportunity, if it shows itself, to draft Carter at 4? General rule of thumb, BPA, best player available. But looking at the 4th pick, and thinking about drafting defense, even if it is Abdul Carter, if you do that, it's a big-time risk. It's a big risk for the Patriots. It's a big risk for Mike Vrabel. There's no guarantee that you're going to be capable of dealing back into the first round to draft your future left tackle. There's no guarantee. We can hope. You can pray to the football gods. You can believe there's somewhat of a shot that it's a quote-unquote possibility, but I would not say trading back into the first round is a probability. And so if you go defense at number 4, how do you address tackle? What do you do on the left side? Do you just hope that somebody falls to you? Because there's no guarantee that somebody's going to fall into your lap at number 38. Are you going to hope that you can move up in the second round? Maybe jump to 33, 34. Well, now you're jockeying with other teams to try to move up, because if what people say right now, not a lot of quarterbacks going in the first round, if that is true, you can certainly believe that quarterbacks will go at the top of the second round. So if you draft defense at 4, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to trade back in to the first round to get your left tackle of the future. If you pick defense at number 4, there's no guarantee that you can move up in the second round to draft somebody who possibly fell a few slots. If you draft defense at number 4, there's no guarantee that one of the left tackles that you like will fall to you at 38. So you might be sacrificing the left tackle position in this draft as far as drafting somebody who could actually credibly start. You might be blowing that opportunity by drafting defense at 4, no matter who it is, whether it's Graham, whether it's Walker, whether it's Carter, no matter who you draft at number 4. If you draft defense, something has to help you. Something has to work for you as you look at left tackle. Something has to happen. Minnesota at 24 will have to want to move out and accept what you're willing to offer. You have to be willing to offer what those teams want to move back into the first round. Or you've got to hope that somebody at the top of the second round is open-minded and willing to trade their pick so you can move up from 38, a few slots up, and maybe draft that next left tackle. Or you've got to hope that one of the left tackles that you really like, that you believe could be the future at that position for you, falls to you at 38. There's a lot of hope involved. So drafting defense at number 4, that's risky, because your hopes of landing that left tackle for the next 8 to 10 years, you might be sending them far away by drafting defense at number 4 overall. So I want your thoughts. I want to know how you feel. Pats Pro jumps in with a super chat. Hello, Nick. Thanks for the $2, Pats Pro. It's got to be Campbell. Love the show. So Pats Pro says it's got to be Campbell. Stop messing around. Don't wait around. It's got to be Will Campbell at number 4. Do you agree with that? We're less than a week away. Do you feel like it's got to be Will Campbell? Have you embraced this idea? Do you believe that it's got to be Will Campbell? Because one of the scenarios that plays out here is you draft defense at 4, and then you're scrambling at tackle for the rest of the draft. You might act in desperation at 38. You might wait until 69 or 77. And if you get that deep into the draft, what are the chances that that tackle is going to work out for you? What are the chances that that tackle is going to work out for you day one at camp and be able to leapfrog Vidarian Lowe? Every pick affects the next pick. The domino effect. Derek Irish jumps in with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Derek. I have actual worries about not getting a left tackle. Yeah. If you decide to spend the 4th pick on a defensive player, you get to 38. What happens if you can't find the guy? What happens if the guy's not there? Could you imagine walking out of this draft without a left tackle prospect? Somebody that you could believe is going to be able to start early on in his rookie campaign? Could you imagine that? Even if it's Abdul Carter. Could you imagine going defense at 4 and then leaving the left tackle option to chance? Is that something that you would be okay with? I want your thoughts. I have more thoughts on this in just a minute, but don't forget to click that thumbs up button. Continue to like the live stream. Continue to like the podcast. That helps us with the algorithm. You know the spiel. So don't forget to click that thumbs up. Don't forget to throw your comments in. I ask you on this live stream today, if you're listening on demand, you can still throw your comments in as well. Can the Patriots afford to go defense at number 4? This is not a very, very deep draft at tackle. We know that. Is going defense at number 4 too much of a risk? Throw your comment in. Likes, comments, both of those help us with the algorithm. And also subscribe. If you're a newcomer and you enjoy this podcast, maybe you enjoy hate watching, hate listening, throwing comments in, subscribe to the channel. The goal is 6,600 by draft night, round 1. The initial goal was 6,500. We surpassed that because of all of you. Let's get to 6,600 by draft night. Like, comment, subscribe, click that notify bell. Help the community out. Let's continue to grow. And, of course, Spotify, Apple Pods. Don't forget to rate, review. Those 5-star reviews are awesome. And throw some comments in there as well. Spotify, we now have video for the past couple of months, which is cool. So don't forget to help us out. We appreciate every single one of you. By the way, as we talk about left tackle on today's episode of Locked On Patriots that was released this morning, I talked about a left tackle trade, Colton Miller. Is that a possibility? Is that a road I would go down? You can check that out at Locked On Patriots. All right, let's pull up another super chat before I give you more thoughts on this idea of drafting defense at 4 and how much of a risk it could be. Effie Martinez, I'm curious on your take. Thanks for the 5, Effie, about hearing nothing about or from defensive coordinator Terrell Williams. No press conference, no player talking about him, nothing. It's interesting. It's interesting because we all know that the offensive staff met with the media. Josh McDaniels had his deal, right? He went up there. He spoke. By the way, he looks really good. Lost some LBs during his time off, during his time away from the NFL. That was nice to see. But it is interesting that Terrell Williams has been pretty much MIA. Now, he sat down for the quick interview with the Patriots, Patriots.com, the YouTube channel. I don't know how much you got from that. It was like a minute and a half. I don't think you got a lot from it. So it's interesting. We haven't heard anything from Williams regarding the defensive signings, Robert Spillane and Milton Williams, Carlton Davis. We haven't really heard anything from him about that. So it's fascinating I don't know if there's a situation that we don't know about. I haven't heard anything. I haven't read anything regarding Terrell Williams and where he's been. So I don't know if it's a personal situation that's holding him back. I have no idea. But it is interesting that we heard from Josh McDaniels. We have certainly heard from Mike Vrabel. We've heard from Mike Vrabel like every day, it feels like. But Terrell Williams has been like the quiet guy in the back. So I don't know what to make of it, honestly. And I'm surprised that he hasn't been put up front, because you would think that Vrabel, being a defensive guy, would like to give the love and the promotion to Terrell Williams and say, no, he's our guy, right? He's our guy. I'm not going to run the defense. This is Terrell Williams' defense. But we really haven't seen that. So it's weird to me that we haven't heard from him as much as we've heard from McDaniels and Vrabel. Anonymous jumps in, $20 super chat support for Nick. Thank you, Anonymous. I appreciate the 20. Anytime. Anytime that you guys and gals spend a couple bucks on the product, I can't say enough about the support and the generosity. So, Anonymous, thank you for the 20. Casey Reed jumps in with a $10 super chat, says, Carter, been a while. So I'm guessing you would go for Abdul Carter. Look, Abdul Carter, I don't think you can pass up Carter. I don't think you can pass up Carter at 4. He's too talented. He's one of the 2 best players in this draft. I would not pass up Carter at number 4. But I just think we have to acknowledge that if you pick Carter at 4, if he falls to you at 4, what are you going to do with tackle? You better hope that you can move back into the first round. You better hope that you can move up in the second round. You better hope that somebody falls to you at 38. One of those 3 things has to happen for you to feel good about left tackle leaving this draft. Charlie jumps in. Busy super chat day. Appreciate all you guys. Happy Friday. Big week next week. Can't wait to be here watching. Yes, we're going to have a lot of stuff next week. Between Lockdown and this live stream, we're going to have a ton of content for you. I got my one and only mock draft coming up on Monday. That'll be on Lockdown. Again, I got a special guest for you guys on Wednesday here on the live stream. Looking forward to that. Appreciate the 10, Charlie. And the generosity is certainly noted. All right, let's get back to this idea of drafting defense at 4. Here's the danger. If you draft a defensive player at 4, there could be a left tackle run. And we saw this happen in the second round last year. Now, it didn't necessarily kill you because most of those guys drafted in the second round, aside from Rosengarten, who played right tackle, all those guys pretty much weren't very good in their rookie seasons. Suamataia, for example, the guy that I said I would draft in the second round, he stunk last year for Kansas City. And the latest that you're reading about Kansas City is they're going to try to trade up in the first round to draft a left tackle. That's the rumor that's out there right now. Again, it's silly season, a lot of smoke screens going on, but that's the rumor right now, that Kansas City is going to try to move up in the first round to find the future left tackle for their franchise, which tells you Suamataia is not it at left tackle. So you look back at last year, that second round run of left tackles, a lot of those guys, pretty much all of them that played on the left side, just didn't work out. Brandon Coleman was a third round pick for Washington right before Caden Wallace, so you can't even include Coleman. Now, he was part of the run, so to speak, and that's the concern. Because if you draft defense at 4 and you do have that run, let's say a run happens, it is possible. It is possible that Kelvin Banks is gone by 11 to San Francisco. It's possible that Josh Simmons is gone in the top 20. It's possible that guys like Connerly and Ursery get drafted in the late first round. Now, I think Ursery probably slides to round 2 if I had to guess. And I think Donovan Jackson, who can play both guard and tackle, he did it at Ohio State last year when Simmons got hurt with that patellar tendon. You know, when you look at the left tackle run, Banks, Simmons, Connerly, all those guys could be gone by, let's say, pick 25. You're sitting there at 38. If you can't move back in to the first round, you can't move up in the second round. Now you're sitting there as the Patriots and you're crossing your fingers and you're hoping that one of those left tackles that you actually like falls to you, because these runs happen. We see them every year. You know, one team picks a position and then another team feels the sudden urgency, they pick that position, and now everybody is reacting above to what's happening above them in the draft order, and all of a sudden you've got 3 or 4 tackles off the board. Like, you might get to 10 and not have a single tackle taken. Maybe you'll have 2 of them. Maybe Membu and Campbell will be gone by 10. Maybe they won't be. But from 10 to 25, you could easily see 3 or 4 left tackles fly off the board. And if you can't get in on that action, now you're in the danger zone of not being able to find the left tackle that you need. So it's a very difficult pathway if you draft a defensive player at 4. The old bird in hand thing, right? You could draft your left tackle at 4 and say, I'm done with it. Don't have to worry about it. But as the left tackle you draft at 4, is that the best player available? And how much better is the other player or players that are sitting there for you? How much better are those guys than the guy you might draft at 4? It's all a game. It's all a game. And if you miss that run, if you have, let's say you have 5 or 6 left tackles gone by pick 33, 34, do you wait until round 3? You might have to wait until round 3 to draft your left tackle. Are you comfortable drafting a left tackle out of this class, which is not very deep? Are you comfortable with drafting a left tackle in the 3rd round and feeling confident that that guy you drafted in the 3rd round is going to be your starting left tackle for the next 7, 8, 9 years? I would not be confident if I'm drafting somebody in the 3rd round. I would not be confident at all. So it's a very difficult scenario, and it's a risky scenario for the Patriots to consider if you're drafting a defensive player at 4. And we know Mike Vrabel said this week that they're running through their draft simulations. And I heard my friend Evan Lazar say this on his Catch 22 podcast. I can't agree with him more. All of these coaches and GMs say that they run draft simulations. They're doing mock drafts. They're doing what you and I do. Literally, that's what they're doing. So the Patriots have been running through these mock drafts over the past couple of weeks, and you know for a fact that one of those scenarios has them drafting Abdul Carter. I would be pretty confident in believing that one of those scenarios that they ran in the mock draft had them drafting Jalen Walker, maybe even Mason Graham. And how do they feel about that? When they look at how the board falls, when they go defense at 4, how do they feel about that? If you're forced to draft your left tackle in the 3rd round, we will be having most likely the same exact conversations next draft season that we've had the last few about the left tackle position. We'll be living through this all over again and saying to ourselves, I can't believe we're talking left tackle again. And even if you wait until the 3rd round, if you look at Dane Brugler, right? I love Dane Brugler's work. Dane Brugler has 2 3rd-round grades on tackles in this class. He only has 2 tackles with 3rd-round grades. He has a couple guys, I think, that have like 2nd to 3rd-round grades. But he only has 2 tackles that are specifically graded for round 3. Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College. Would that surprise anybody if the Patriots drafted Trapillo? No, we've been talking about him for weeks. The Doug Marrone connection, the Bill O'Brien connection. Wouldn't be crazy, right? So Ozzie Trapillo is one of those tackles. The other guy is Charles Grant. Those are your 2 tackles. Those are the only 2 tackles that Dane Brugler has graded as 3rd-round talent. And Charles Grant, you don't know who he is. He played for William and Mary, and he just turned 23 years old. So he's 23 years old and played at a smaller program at William and Mary. Ozzie Trapillo, of course, is seen mostly as a right tackle. Some believe that he might be able to help you as a Band-Aid in like an emergency situation. You might be able to slide him to the left side. But those are the only 2 tackles graded as 3rd-rounders by Dane Brugler. Ozzie Trapillo, mostly a right tackle, and Grant, who played at William and Mary and is 23 years old. I'm not saying those guys can't play tackle. I like Trapillo. I like him at right tackle. And it begs the question, could the Patriots actually double dip in the third round? Now you're almost talking crazy. If you draft a defensive player at 4 and you have to wait until round 3 to draft a tackle, do you actually look at it and say to yourself, well, now I'll draft both guys. I'll take a swing at Trapillo and Grant. I'll draft Trapillo at 69. I'll come back and I'll draft Grant at 77. And I'll hope that one of those two guys can play left tackle for me. It's really not as crazy of a scenario if you think about it, because if you say draft Will Campbell at number 4, and then you come back in the third round and you draft Trapillo, you're still drafting 2 tackle prospects in the first 4 picks. It's just drafting that defensive guy at 4. You now slide the 2 tackle picks into the third round. It's almost insurance. You draft Trapillo and then you follow that up with Grant and you say, let's just roll with 2 guys and hopefully one of them can be the guy this year. And if you do double dip at tackle in the third round, that's a lot of pressure at 38 to find the right skill position player. Because if you go defense in the first round and you go tackle in the third round, you better hit on that number 38 pick. Whether it's a wide receiver or a tight end or a running back, you better hit on that pick. I find it fascinating that Mike Vrabel said they like several offensive tackles at all levels of the draft. That's interesting. Does that mean that Vrabel would be open-minded to draft a defensive player at 4 because he believes you can get that starting tackle in the second round, third round, fourth round? Or is he just saying that to try to throw people off the scent? He was asked about the tackle position at number 4, and he was very generic with his answer, very, very general. But if you walk out of this draft without a confident answer on the left side, to me, that is a nightmare outcome. And I'm sure it's a nightmare outcome for all of you. If you draft defense at 4 and then you walk out of this draft not feeling great about the left side, not feeling confident that you have an answer to plug, at least at left tackle, if not left tackle and left guard. If you walk out of this draft not being confident that you have that answer, that's a nightmare outcome. All right, speaking of Vrabel, he had an important quote from this week's press conference that I want to get to. First, don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. Help us out here with the YouTube channel, Everything Pats, a New England Patriots podcast. Here's what Mike Vrabel said this week, and it could give us an idea as to how the Patriots are going to draft 6 nights from tonight. Vrabel was asked a great question. He was asked about the lessons he learned from his time in Tennessee with the guys that they drafted in the first round. By the way, Evelyn asks, I see Evelyn asking me, are you going to talk about the tackle from the Raiders at all? I addressed that, Evelyn, on the Locked On Patriots podcast. You can go to the YouTube channel, Locked On Patriots podcast. I spent a lot of time talking about Colton Miller on that podcast earlier today. Appreciate the question. Appreciate you stopping by. So Mike Vrabel was asked about any lessons he learned from his time in Tennessee with his first-round picks, the history. And he said, quote, we took a couple of guys with injuries that were talented, where they fell and we felt comfortable in taking them. What's the ability of players to recover from one injury versus another injury? Vrabel was also asked about analytics. Quote, I think it's a quick, very good snapshot. You talk about durability. You talk about time missed. Does that equate to time missed in our league? So 2 or 3 different times, 2 or 3 different occasions, different questions. Vrabel brought up durability. He brought up injury time. And the first thing that jumped to my mind was, outside of the draft, it's interesting that they signed Carlton Davis. They spent a lot of money on Carlton Davis, and Vrabel seems mindful of durability and injuries and guys that can't get on the field. The old, you can't make the club in the tub. So it's interesting that they signed Carlton Davis, because you look at the last 4 years, the biggest knock on Davis is that he has not been durable. His last 4 years, he's played 13 games, 12 games, 13 games, and 10 games. He's missed a bunch of games the last 4 seasons. So it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting that Vrabel was kind of pounding the table about durability during his pre-draft press conference, but one of their top signings was Carlton Davis, who has been injured an awful lot the past 4 or 5 years. Just an interesting observation. Now, as far as the draft goes, we talk about durability. First guy I thought about was Abdul Carter. The stress reaction in his foot, the shoulder injury. Does Vrabel look at Carter and wonder, if we draft that guy at 4, is that going to backfire on me? I've lived through that. I've drafted guys in the first round. I've been a part of Tennessee's contingent, drafting guys in the first round that have some kind of injury histories. And if there's an injury history with anybody moving forward, am I going to be a little hesitant to pull the trigger? So Carter with the foot injury, the shoulder injury, is there any doubt creeping into the mind of Vrabel about drafting Carter if he falls to 4? I'll say it again. I would absolutely draft Carter at 4 if he fell to me. I'm wondering if Vrabel is looking at Carter and asking those questions about the durability. He has to. The second guy I thought about in this draft, and I'm sure many of you are thinking this right now, is Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons had a serious knee injury at Ohio State. And that's a pretty difficult injury to deal with for anybody, but especially a big offensive lineman. So Vrabel's history of dealing with first-round picks that have injuries and those guys not being able to get back on the field consistently enough, and therefore making those first-round picks useless for all intents and purposes. Does Vrabel have a little bit of PTSD from his Tennessee days where he looks at it and he says, I can't say yes to Josh Simmons. If we draft Josh Simmons and his knee ends up being damaged goods by year 2 or 3, if not year 1, we're going to swing and miss. And of course, Simmons would not be at 4. Simmons would be the trade back in scenario or trade back once or twice scenario. But would Vrabel stay away from Simmons because of that significant injury in Vrabel's history of being burnt by guys that were drafted in the first round that had injury issues? Now, later on in the first round, early second round, you might look at Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell might drop to the later first round because of his labrum injury. That's another guy that you look at. Mykel Williams and his ankle injury impacted him, he said, the entire year at Georgia last season. Does Vrabel look at Mykel Williams and take him off the board? How many guys do we think that Vrabel took off the Patriots board over the past few weeks based on durability? Because he hammered it during that press conference. He mentioned it a couple of times. It wasn't like anybody asked him specifically about durability. Unprompted, he brought it up 2 or 3 times in that press conference. So it's top of mind. So how many guys did he cross off the list, cross off the board because of durability and injury concerns? It's a legitimate question to ask. There's a number of guys in this draft that have injury questions surrounding them. And that could take them off the Patriots board based on what Vrabel said this week. You can also look at the other side of it, though. You could look at guys who have been durable. How much does that impact Vrabel in the front office when they're looking at the draft prospects on their board and they're 6 nights away? How much does it impact their thought process when they see a guy who is very durable? Just like not being durable can take you off the board, being durable might actually raise your stock in Vrabel's eyes. Vrabel might feel like, hey, if we're going to draft somebody at number 4, that guy has to be durable. We can't draft somebody who has question marks all about them physically because it'd be a nightmare. Vrabel might say to himself, I'm not drafting anybody at number 4 unless they have proven themselves to be able to get out there week in and week out. So let's look at the other side of it. We looked at some of the injury questions, Carter and Simmons and Jihad Campbell and Mykel Williams. There are durable guys, very durable guys that will be available at number 4. You know who one of them is? Will Campbell. Will Campbell was incredibly durable. Will Campbell did not miss a single game at LSU. He had 38 straight starts at left tackle. So we think about what Vrabel said this week. If durability is an emphasis, Will Campbell started 38 straight games at LSU. Did not miss a single game. That obviously is a check for Mike Vrabel. Could check that box off. Armand Membu, also tremendously durable in college. Membu finished his college career with 30 straight starts. He gets on the field. Campbell gets on the field. Membu gets on the field. That has to be good news for both those guys when you think about Mike Vrabel and who he's contemplating taking at 4. But if you want to trade back into the first round because you draft somebody else at number 4, you don't draft a tackle, it could be good news for Josh Connerly, because Joshua Connerly, he finished his college football career with 28 straight starts. So durability. Will Campbell, Armand Membu, Josh Connerly, 3 left tackle prospects. Membu's a right tackle. 2 of the 3 left tackle prospects, and 3 of the top tackle prospects in this draft all had tremendous durability in college. So if it's going to matter to Mike Vrabel, you have to imagine Connerly, Membu, and Campbell are high on the board for Mike Vrabel. Other positions that aren't tackle. Tet McMillan. Talking about wide receivers, Tet McMillan did not miss a game. Did not miss a game in his college career. So he's got that box checked. Matthew Golden. Not the same. So this is when we start comparing prospects. If you're looking at wide receiver and you have Tet McMillan and then you have Matthew Golden, and you're looking at all the different aspects of their games and you're looking at durability, Tet McMillan did not miss a game in college. Matthew Golden missed 5 games between his freshman and sophomore years. Now, 5 games, freshman, sophomore year, maybe not the end of the world. But if you're comparing those wide receivers and there's a slim margin between those two, there's a slim difference between those two in Mike Vrabel's eyes, he might lean towards Tet McMillan because Tet McMillan has been able to get out there and play every single week. Golden, not so much. How about Jalen Walker? Jalen Walker played in all 43 of his college football games. Did not miss a game. Played in all 43 games. So durability. Who passes the durability test? Jalen Walker, Tet McMillan, Josh Connerly, Armand Membu, Will Campbell. Those 5 guys, they pass the durability test. Some of the guys that don't, or at least have questions, because Carter played through the injury, and he mostly dominated my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. It's okay because Penn State lost that game, so I'm fine with it. Carter played through the injury, but you're projecting forward and you say, well, how much will that impact him? So Carter's got the injury questions. Simmons has the big injury question. Jahad Campbell, Mykel Williams, likely outside of the Patriots' range in the first round. I don't think those guys are going to be available to the Patriots once they draft at 4. So durability, we talk about all these different things. Durability, positional value, positional versatility, maturity, leadership, work ethic. I mean, there's so many different aspects of every single prospect that all these teams are looking at. And that's where you start to draw the lines of demarcation from one player to another player. It's just part of the gigantic draft puzzle. And we're 6 nights away. I cannot freaking wait for the draft. Derek Irish, $5 super chat. Thank you, Derek. As much as I like Carter, I think edge is deep. You can get someone like Nick Scarton in the second or move up to get him in the end of the first. Yeah, I mean, defensive end, you look at, 5 or 6 guys that'll go from 1 to probably 35, 36, and it depends on how you feel about their off-field issues, Derek. We know that there's a couple of, there are a couple of prospects that have questions. Green and Pierce have some significant questions away from the field. Now, teams are doing the homework. They're looking into their backgrounds. Are those allegations legitimate? I don't know. So defensive end and edge, as far as, top tier guys, you might have two off the board because of character concerns, because of those allegations. So I don't know how the Patriots feel about those two guys specifically, but defensive end, you can get an edge player that I think has really good potential in the third, fourth round this year. There are a number of guys. So that's when you talk about positional value. That's why I'm not a big fan of the idea of drafting Ashton Genty. And I think Ashton Genty is a terrific football player. And I think he's going to have a really good NFL career. But one of the reasons why I would not draft Genty at 4 is because there are going to be, we've talked about this, like 28, 29, 30 running backs that are going to be drafted in this draft. And I'm not saying that they're all equal to Genty. Of course not. But do you draft Genty at 4 when you can go out and get an impact running back in round 3, 4, 5? I personally wouldn't. All right, don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Trying to hit 6,600 subscribers by the first round of the NFL draft. We are 6 nights away. I mean, I can't wait. I cannot wait until next week. We've got a special guest for you on Wednesday. Can't wait to talk to him. We've got the pre-draft show we're going to do on Thursday night, Thursday evening. You don't want to miss that. We're going to go live here. We're going to have a live reaction to the number 4 pick right when that happens. You don't want to miss that. Terry jumps in with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Terry. Thanks, Nick. Enjoy your weekend resting up for draft week. Yes. Thank you for the $20 super chat, Terry. Always appreciate the generosity and the kind words. Everybody have a great weekend. I'm going to head out. Be well. And I'll be talking to you on Monday live at 3 right here on this YouTube channel. Also, Locked On Patriots podcast. I've got a mock draft coming up on Locked On Monday. My one and only mock draft. You don't want to miss it over there. I appreciate you. Be well.